everybody. This is Brian O'Haron, Planning for Success, on Tuesday nights for the foreseeable future at 6 p.m. And my other program, Getting Things Done, will be on Saturdays at 5:30. Spread the word. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people that are calling and stopping me on the street, offering me rides, talking about their views on what's going on in town. Most of them aren't happy with any of it. But I'd like to thank everybody for that. Some of the things they say I don't like to hear. Most of the things they say I do like to hear. So that's what we're all about in America. We've got to get all views stated. We can't stifle public comment. We can't say, just tell us the good news. We got to hear all the news. Let me tell you that you can't, unless you hear the bad news, you'll never get to the good news. The bad news are the problems. If you go to the doctor and you say, "Doc, what's wrong with me?" he will tell you what's wrong with you to the best of his ability. If he doesn't know what's wrong with you, he'll have tests taken, he'll refer you to specialists, he'll do all kinds of things to try to get and find out exactly what's wrong with you. And then he'll tell you. I had people that work for me die on the job. And I was always advised when I called their wife or husband or children to tell them right away up front exactly what happened. Don't beat around the bush. Don't try to set up a meeting, but get the news to them. And if you see a doctor and he thinks you've only got 3 months to live, he's going to say, "Sorry, you've only got 3 months to live. So you better get your affairs in order." Now, you might end up living another year or two, or maybe another 10 or 20 years. But the doctor wants you to know exactly what's wrong with you so you have an opportunity to fix it or to straighten out your affairs or to enjoy the remaining time you have with your family and friends and with yourself. We have one doctor on the Board of Education. I don't always think on the Board of Education follows this theory, but I do as a businessman, and most doctors do, and most people will tell you the truth up front in order to get your cooperation to help you heal or get your affairs in order. Now, you'll see a picture in back of me of a guest I have here tonight. He'll be around through the whole program. You won't see much of him because he's kind of a quiet character. His name is Thomas Hobson. He lived from 1544 to 1631. And he's very famous because he's the one who introduced us to a Hobson's choice. Our town is now being offered a Hobson's choice by the Finance Board and the Board of Selectmen, the 5 in majority anyway, not the minority 2. But they want us to have a Hobson's choice. So I'm going to explain to you what a Hobson's choice is. I often talk about it on these programs. A Hobson's choice is a free choice in which only one option is offered. As a person may refuse to take that option, the choice is therefore between taking the option or not taking the option. Take it or leave it. The phrase is said to originate with Thomas Hobson, a livery stable owner in Cambridge, England. To rotate the use of his horses, he offered customers the choice of either taking the horse in the stall nearest to the door or taking no horse at all. Now, we have another bad budget. And our town is asking us to pass this bad budget. They're going on television. They're going to have a full court press to try to convince you, and the town managers involved too, that this is another necessary budget. I call it a bad budget, as do the other fiscal conservatives on the finance board and their supporters. Talk a bit about that tonight. Now I want to give you some time to get a piece of paper and a pencil, because I'm going to go over in a few more minutes, after you get the paper and pencil, I'm going to go over how you can calculate your own taxes for this proposal that's on the table for the next annual town budget meeting on May 6th. I think it's 7 p.m. I may be wrong. It's on a Monday. Check with the town hall. Look in the newspapers if you want to see exactly when it is. And I'm pretty sure that's the right date, May 6th. And if you want to attend, go ahead and attend. Probably last a couple hours, maybe a little less. There won't be many people there unless the schools round up a lot of students and mothers and fathers and grandmothers and all. Most of the other people have given up trying to get the word across to the majority on our Board of Education and our Selectmen and Finance Board. They've kind of given up on that, although some are, as you see on TV, some will show up. I gave up on the Board of Education many years ago, although I did go once or twice in the last few years. But I never expect anything to happen because it's a bigger problem. It's too big for me. So now, if we can put up the slide, I'll go through how you can calculate. Well, I guess first we'll look at the fiscal 212-213 town budget debt. I talked about this on the last program. For this year's budget was $711,000. That's what was in the budget for town budget debt. The fiscal year 2012-2013 debt, the year we're in now, is projected to be $3,200,000, as I said last week, at the end of June, when our fiscal year that we're in right now, fiscal year 2012-13, ends. It's going to be $3,200,000 if it stays the same as it is now. It could change. It could go up or down in the next 3 months. I'll keep you posted on that, or you can see it in all the newspapers and on other TV programs. If you look at the percentage that entails, it's quite a large percentage. It represents an increase in debt between this fiscal year and next fiscal year of 450%. 450%. That's quite a bit. And all the information still isn't available, as I said last week on my program. We don't know whether the next budget has got too much revenue forecast or not. We don't know if the expenses are accurate. We won't know any of this until the state investigation is done, the audit is done, that's a year late, and the state is interested in it, and they, being very patient with us because of all our other problems. And we still don't really know all the information about the $4.6 million in funds that were transferred around from 40 or 42 more plus or minus bank accounts. So we have an increase in the debt in 1 year of 450%. In our home sweet home. I've chosen that song for tonight, both the beginning of the program and the end of the program and the end of the last program, because this is home sweet home to many, many people. And we don't want to encumber them any more than we have to. It's not their fault we haven't gotten any more additional profitable recurring revenue into town over the last 40 years, 30 years, certainly the last 10 years. It's not their fault we had the greatest recession since the Great Depression a few years back. It's not their fault that the businesses are moving out, not only of the town but of the state as well, and they're losing their jobs, and the gas price has gone up so high, and the water and sewer prices are increasing, and the mill rate's going up about 22%. It's not their fault. And if they try to help and offer their opinions, nobody listens. I talked to a very, very well-known fiscally conservative Democrat a few weeks ago. I just met him for the first time. He used to be involved very responsibly many years ago. And I said, why don't you go in and coach these Democrats? And he said to me, they don't listen. They're all liberal and they won't listen. And that was the end of our conversation. I've talked to other fiscally conservative Democrats that have MBAs from Harvard and other places, and nobody listened to them either. So you've got a lot of good resource. They keep complaining they don't have any money to hire consultants. But the problem is they won't accept free help from people who would charge them a hell of a lot more for the information if they were in business. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I want to give you a quick example here before we get on to the calculation. The Water and Sewer Group just lost about $125,000 a year from a company that disposed of sewage at our sewer plant. They decided to go to Barkhamsted, sign up a contract down there. Now that $125,000 might be as much as $200,000, might be a little less than $125,000, but it's somewhere in that area, $125,000 to maybe $200,000 a year, was all profitable, recurring tax revenue. It had no children in the school system. It didn't use our roads very much. It didn't use most of the things we have in our town very much. It just came here and dumped the sewage and paid the money. That's a very good example of profitable tax revenue. There's many other ones around. Most personal property taxes, very, very profitable. People who own multi-million-dollar homes with no children in the school system is very, very profitable. There's a lot of profitable things, and despite people who say we can't do it anymore, we can do it. We're just not taking the right approach to it. Now, I want to give another example that I had today when I saw a person and talked to him, very knowledgeable person, very well known in the town. And I said, our basic problem in this town is we don't have free enterprise. We don't let the business and the hospitals and all these good opportunities, we don't let them grow. We don't let them come to town. We don't let them leave town. We try to tell them how to run their business. So I gave the person an example of the computer industry, which I grew up in after I got out of college. I was in at the very early stages where computers were 10 times bigger than the town hall. All vacuum tubes, and 1 and 1 didn't often equal 2. Much like our own finances in our town now. But now look at the computer industry, 40 years, 50 years after I entered it. Because it's run by venture capitalists and it's run in a free enterprise manner throughout the world, they're doing miraculous things for our country, for our world. Some people will say they're doing a lot of harm too. That's another story. You're not going to have everything do just good or just bad. It's going to be a mixture of everything. The first handheld phone I used, mobile phone, was probably 1.5 feet high with a big aerial on top, and we had to carry that around. Look at it today. But that's because people like Microsoft and Apple and all the related companies in the computer industry, all the people that started AOL, the people that started all the internet activities, they were let loose with a minimum amount of government intervention, state intervention, town intervention. So we kind of got to be that way here. We've got to find out what businesses want and what homeowners want and what visitors want. And we got to try to get it. We got to try to get it for them. We got to be positive. It's hard to say we want to be like Great Barrington, or we want to be like, here's what we want to be. That's hard to do that in this day and age, because you'll get left behind like we have been already. You'll get left behind. You won't be able to keep up with the rest of the world. Kids that come out of college now and join Microsoft, not all of them, but a lot of them, or Apple, they make $100,000 a year to start. Now, they live in inflated areas where they have to pay quite a bit of money, but they don't have any trouble getting a job. And they don't have any trouble getting a job, but they have to do what the job requires, not what they want to do. And a lot of people will say to me, Brian, I can't get a job. I try, put out 125 resumes. I said, well, would you leave town? Would you go across the country? Would you go to another country like I did for a while? Oh, no, we don't want to do that. Well, there aren't any jobs here that pay the kind of money you want and the kind of benefits you want and the lifestyle you want. So you're in a pickle. And you probably need to change. So with that, I want to now show you how to go through. The slide will come up, and we'll show you how to go through and compute your own taxes. I hope you got a paper and a pencil. Maybe I'll repeat this again in the next program, just in case. Tell all your neighbors and your friends, pass this around to them to calculate your new tax. Now, you can call the town manager, and he'll calculate it for you. And he'll tell you what your new tax will be. But I would think that you should calculate your own tax, or have somebody in your family calculate it for you. So the first thing you have to do is to obtain the new assessed value, not the appraised value, which is what your house is appraised to be worth on the new appraised value, but the assessed value, which is 70% of the appraised value. So you can get that information. It's a number. Your assessed value may be $125,000 or $425,000 or $1,025,000, whatever your house is assessed to be by the town, vision appraisal, during the last revaluation process. And on average, all the assessments on average went down 20%. Some might have gone 40 down, some might have gone 40 up, but the average went down 17–18%, and in order to get the tax money for that, you have to multiply that, and you have to get more back than you lost, because you're dealing with a smaller number that needs more to raise up to what was decreased. So an example, in order to get 18%, we might have to get 25% increase, or 20. I haven't done the math here recently, but I'm just trying to give you the idea. So the first thing you do is you obtain your new assessed value. You can get that from your reevaluation letter that came out to you in the mail, beginning of the year. You can get that from that. It'll have it on there. Those who are computer literate and can get on the town website, you can go to the assessor's page, and you can get to the database there by clicking on the database and then follow through, put your name or address in, or street address or whatever. Or you can call the town hall. You can get it from the assessor's office at town hall, and that number is 860-379-5461. The normal working hours there are 8 to 4, with the exception of Thursdays and Fridays. Thursday it's 8 to 7, as I understand it, except for holidays. And Friday it's 8 to 12 noon. So you can call anytime during that. You ask for somebody in the assessor's office, and you ask them to look it up for you on the computer, and they will tell you what your latest assessed value is. And if you want to, you can also ask them what your last assessed value was for the previous 5 years. They'll tell you that as well. Now, once you get an assessed value, either this new one or the last one, I'll have to explain that to you in a minute, but the new assessed value, you multiply it by 0.0312. That's 31.2 mils. So you take the new assessed value, you multiply it by 0.0312, and that'll tell you what your new tax is going to be. And then, of course, your taxes, 2 payments. There's one in January, one in July. So this coming July, you will get the new mill rate if it passes the town budget meeting and the town budget referendum. If not, we will stick with this year's rate, 25.43%, until a new mill rate is established. And the mill rate, a lot of things have to be taken into consideration. Still not really firm because they're going through a process where their appeals are coming in and all that kind of thing. So until the day we go to the town budget meeting, it's May 6th, we won't really know what the real mill rate is, but it'll be pretty close to that. So right now that'll give you a good idea. And that'll tell you new tax. Now, to see what taxes you paid before, you multiply your old assessed value by 0.2543. 0.02543, I'm sorry, 0.02543. That'll give you the old one. But for the new one that's going to happen in July, if everything passes the way the budget is now, be multiplied by 0.0312. And that'll tell you what your new tax is. And you may be more than you were before, you may be less. But remember, even if you're paying the same as you were before the last 5 years, your house is probably either devalued by the average of 18% or more or less. So when you talk about averages, that means so many people are above it, so many people are equal to it, and so many people are below it. And that's what we need to know. So I wouldn't take anybody's word for anything. I would calculate it yourself, find out what you're going to be paying, and then budget and vote accordingly when it comes time for the budget referendum, which will be set at the town budget meeting. It'll probably be somewhere at the end of May, beginning of June, somewhere in that time frame. Depends on, there's certain rules in the charter as to when you can have it. So that's it. So pass that around, let everybody know. Check with the town manager just after you calculate yours to make sure he's got the same number. And he's assured me this week by email that he is using 0.0312. And I'm multiplying it towards when he's got a whole list of every assessment in town, he said at the public hearing, selectman public hearing. So just ask him, check and see. But I would double check everything. In this town, I wouldn't believe anything. I'd check for myself, because then you'll know the truth. And if you need help, give me a call, and I'll help you. I know other people will do the same. So now we'll get back to the normal part here. In an attempt to avoid bankruptcy, certain things are going to be done with this new budget. They want this new budget. They say, that's the Liberals, the 5 on the Board of Education, all the Board of, on the Board of Selectmen, Finance Board, and all of the basically liberal people on the Board of Education, which is most of them. There's only 2 on there that aren't. There's only 2 on the Board of Selectmen that aren't. They would like to get this budget passed. And they'd like to get this budget passed because they don't want to have to cut their budgets. They don't want to reduce, restructure, and rejuvenate the town. They're giving you a Hobson's choice. Take it or leave it. Why would you want to vote yes for a bad budget? I wouldn't do it. Because the chances of being in worse shape next year if we pass this budget are just as great, if not more, than if we turn this budget down and force the finance board, the school board, and the town manager and the board of selectmen to face this $3.2 million problem right now. Get together and come up with a plan to reduce the $3.2 million to zero without increasing the tax. That's how you treat people who have groups that won't comply with responsible management. You say, okay, you want to give your people raises? You want to have 2 superintendents? You want to have 2, 3, 4 computer systems in town? You want to have 3, 4 purchasing departments? You want to have receiving departments? You want to have this? You want to have duplicate things all over the place? Then we'll give you a zero budget every year until you face the music and you cooperate. And you don't have the chairman of the Board of Education go to the finance board and selectmen and say, we will not cooperate with you because reducing the MBR and reducing our budget is illegal. Not true at all. I had a program on Saturday, Getting Things Done, that went through an explanation of the ECS and MBR grants and what the rules are. And there is room for improvement. We can go there and arbitrate with the state. I'm not saying we'll win, but if you haven't tried, that's the biggest sin that we could have with a town that's in our shape. We must get together, as I said at the public hearing to the selectmen and the finance board, we must get together as a town, despite all our differences, and try to save this dying patient. Try to get the state to allow us, within the rules, within the law, to reduce our education budget by eliminating, not hurting the children, not hurting the education. I already did a program about that, and all the education I've paid for in my life for myself and my family. Joyce has paid for our family, and even helped me to get through school, and I helped her to get educated too. We don't want to hurt any kids. We just don't like a lot of the mandates. We don't like having duplicate services throughout the town, triplicate, quadruple services. And we should say no to any budget until that changes and people realize they must get rid of the duplication and the inefficiencies. We got to do it. We're forced to do it. And when somebody offers us a Hobson's choice, take it or leave it, we say no. We're the taxpayers. We own the town. It's our town. Not your town Board of Education, not your town selectmen, not your town finance board, and certainly not your town manager, although you want to move to our town, that's good. It's our town. The residents and the taxpayers. Now, personally, I think we ought to vote all these extremely liberal members of the Board of Education and Selectmen and Finance Board out in November. We absolutely should do it. It's not politics. It's business. It's fire them, get them out. I hear that from everybody. Past town managers tell me that. People all over the town tell me that. People all over the state tell me that. What you need to do is fire those people and bring in new blood, preferably with business experience wherever practical, or at least common sense, which is uncommon, of course, and deal with the real issue. Get all the problems on the table. Let everybody that's working towards the betterment of the town know what all the cards are. Give them the sheet music so they can act like an orchestra and not a Pierre Boulez symphony. So right now, the majority are proposing this Hobson's choice, a mill rate increase of 22.69%. Can you believe that? 22.69%. A person asked me on the street today, Brian, why can't we just get a budget passed in our town? And I say, because people don't trust our management. Especially since all this news has come out about the 3.2 million and the 4.7 million that's been moved around. 3.2 million is the debt at the end of the next quarter, which is the end of our fiscal year. There's no excuse, none at all, for continuously being a year or two late on audits. First it was a school problem, then it was a town problem, but there's no excuse for any of that. I just recently went for a loan, and I had to pledge some collateral. And the first thing they wanted to see was my income tax statements for the last 2 years. They wanted to see my income tax statements. And they're not a year late. They were on time. Filed every April 15th by my tax man. And myself, and Joyce, of course. If I didn't show them, they wouldn't give me any loan. They wouldn't even consider anything. And by the way, I had to show them a lot more than that. So we're in the same position as a town. How can we not have audits done that are a year, 2 years late? Why doesn't our management get in and say, no, we will not live with that. Let's all get in a room with a bottle of whiskey and some cigars, and let's not leave the room until we solve this problem. Now, in our case, we might want to have a quart of tea and some biscuits instead of the whiskey and cigars like they used to in the old days. These old entrepreneurial factory owners we used to have in this town, and educators too. But somebody's got to say, all right, everybody in the room, nobody leaves till the problem is solved. And we don't keep blaming the schools or blaming the town or blaming the state. Now the state is saying to us, look, you're over a year late on this budget. Why isn't it done? And I'm saying to you that the town is run in that kind of a slipshod manner. And it's got to stop. The only way it's going to stop if the taxpayers let their views be known at the budget referendums. So I'm trying to spread the word. I have an email list that I send out to people to keep them abreast of what's going on in town. If they live out around the country or around the world somewhere. I let them see the selectmen meetings. I let them see some of the TV programs. I point them to newspaper articles, and I try to even give them a little of my own advice, which is something I'm allowed to do as an American citizen. So anyway, the majority are proposing a Hobson's choice, a mill rate increase of 22.69%. And if you don't want to pay that, if you don't vote yes, they'll tell you the world will come to an end. And what I'm telling you, and the other fiscal conservatives are trying to tell you, is that if you don't vote no, and you don't face the problems now, they will fester. And you may be much worse off over the next few years. We're in deep enough trouble now. We don't want to make it worse. So property values, as I said earlier, are down about 18%. You keep hearing different numbers on that. You know, you might hear 16.7, you might hear 17. But the property values are down 18% on average. I thought I had a slide for that, but maybe I didn't. The town budget has been reduced by $200,000, or 2%, in this proposed budget. 2% of last year's town budget. So the town budget is reduced by $200,000, or 2% of last year's town budget. The education budget is reduced by 0%. Can you imagine that? If you can't get $2 million out of there, I'll eat my right shoe. Or maybe my left shoe. And I might throw in a soccer too. So the education budget has been reduced by 0%. Because there's a fear that we will get fined and will be illegal to reduce it. But no, not of course, as I said at my Saturday's Getting Things Done program, which will probably be repeated. There are ways you can reduce the budget, providing the Board of Education in the town acts uniformly and goes to the state and asks for arbitration, etc., etc., etc. So they're trying to scare you. They're trying to claim illegality. They have one of the strongest unions in the country. They will always tell you it's for the children. But I still think you can do a lot of things for the children. By the way, our test grades aren't very good here either. We keep going up, but our test grades aren't so hot. So that's 0% of last year's education budget. Now the town hasn't gone much down. They've gone down 2%. And they have, I'm told, reallocated some money. I haven't studied the budget yet, but it'll be available on April 16th or 17th. April 16th or 17th, I'm told by the, that's what they said at the public hearing and at the town budget meeting, the selectmen meeting. So everybody will see the budget. You can get it online right now if you want to, if you're computer literate. Call the town financial department, ask them for instructions on how to get the budget online. It's a little tricky, but you can look at it. But it will be a copy of it available in the town clerk's office. I think it's on April 16th or 17th. Give the town clerk's office a call if you're interested in that. So the town budget is about 30% of the total expense budget. It's about 30%. It's a smaller of it, but it adds up when you add it with the school budget to most of our budget. 30% or so. Plus or minus. Changes all the time depending upon what's put forward. When I see the new budget, I'll recalculate and see. This number comes from this year's budget. And since nothing's much changed for next year's budget, then it'll probably be pretty much the same. Now the education budget for this year, I calculated it this morning again, was about 64% of the total expense budget. So you can see, now of course, on both sides we get some government money. But I always kind of warn people about one-time money and mandate money because they go away eventually. We need additional recurring profitable tax revenue to sustain our growth over the long run. It's all right to have a few bluebirds come in by selling a little piece of land or something like that. But you can't rely on that every year for the future. You can't rely even on the recurring stuff. Sometimes businesses will leave town. Some refuse companies will form contracts with other towns to dump their refuse there. and won't pay us the $125,000 a year of recurring profitable additional tax revenue. And when you start losing some of the businesses that are in the top 10% of your tax payers for personal property tax, you get hit pretty hard. And if the homes devalue enough, you'll get less tax from them. And as a result, everybody will have to pay more. And if the homes devalue enough, you'll get more and more people in town who need welfare and need public assistance. And it's just a never-ending spiral. Now, some say, vote yes for another bad budget, like we did last year. Couldn't convince anybody last year that that was a zero budget, which wasn't really a zero budget. There was an increase, which was well hidden and well disguised and never talked about. But that didn't help us any, because we lost a year addressing the real problems. We lost a year in forcing the schools, Board of Education, town manager, selectmen, and finance board to all work together for a good budget that would help us to reduce our debt and to provide the wheels and mechanism for growth in the additional recurring profitable tax base. Now, if we could get that balance properly, then we can live with inflationary type increases each year, which I think the town would like to see. Most of the Taxpayer Association people join the Taxpayer Association. I'm not a member because I don't need to be, but I voice my own opinion, but I think similarly to them. Most of them are business people of one sort or another, or property owners, that ask questions. They say, why should we give more money to people who don't know how to manage and spend the money? And it's hard to get people to run for these offices because they tend to get vilified, called troublemakers. Their wives and husbands get razzed. Their children get pressure in the school system. So they don't want to run for office. So you're losing a lot of good people who should be on these commissions, who should be running for selectmen and finance board and board of education and planning and zoning and water and sewer and all those kind of things, but they're not doing it. And they have a lot of skills. Some of them are accountants. Some of them know a lot about money. Some of them know a lot about business, a lot about investing. Some know a lot about school and education. I'm not one of those. I wouldn't be a teacher and couldn't be a teacher. And most of the teachers couldn't be good businessmen. Nothing wrong with that. Experts have different expertise, and some are good at this and some are good at that. And we have to face that as a town. And you have to do the thing that's the toughest. And you have to have tough love. You have to say no when somebody's going to stick their finger into the electrical outlet. And if you see them wetting their hand first and then trying to stick their finger in the electrical outlet, you better grab them and yank them away. And that's what our town's doing now. They want you to vote in this budget, which is a wet hand about to stick its finger into an electrical outlet. We, the taxpayers, must stop them, force them to budget properly, force them to approach the town, to get rid of some of these mandates and some of these rules we have in the MBR and the ECS grant. Close a school or two, have one principal, etc., etc., etc. Now, that will not ingratiate me with the educators in town. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be the hero of the educators. I'm trying to help the town balance its financial structure such that everybody wins, not just for the children or for the teachers, but for the homeowners, for the business owners, for the taxpayers, for the residents, for the visitors, for the tourists, for everything, for the roads, for the bridges, for the lakes. There has to be a balance there. Others say, not again. We did it last year. Not again. Let's not pass this budget again. Look where it got us when the same people fooled us last year. We're in much worse shape this year than had we addressed the problems over the past X years. And last year was another example. So we have to stand up for ourselves. We don't like this Hobson's choice. We don't want to be fooled again like we were last year. We don't want an extreme minority in the town, most of whom tend to be extreme environmentalists, unfortunately, running the town. We don't want the tail to wag the dog. We want the dog to wag the tail. So have a look at what you're going to be paying. Ask yourself if it's worth it. Do you really want to pay for that second superintendent? Do you really want to pay for multiple computer systems? Do you really want to pay for all the overlap we have in this town, paying for services 2, 3, 4 times? Now, we have to make the assumption here that revenue is a long way off. Finance, temporary interim finance director Jane Wall said, you're not going to get much growth in revenue for quite a while. The town manager at the budget hearing, selecting budget hearing, finance board budget hearing the other day, answered a question from the superintendent of schools, how long are we going to go with these zero budgets? And he said, probably 2 or 3 years. And that's when I got up, and you'll see it on TV, and I said, no, it's more like 5 to 10 years. It might be 6, 7, 8, I don't know. But we are in serious trouble. And we need to take control, because these extremists are leading us in the wrong direction, and it is beginning to show up with this $3.2 million deficit at the end of this year, and the long time it's going to take to restructure, to pay this debt off, be able to attend more loans, get more loans, and to square away this $44,600,000 in money that's been moved around in the town over the years. We don't know all the information on that. Something was mentioned by Selectman Perez, as I said last week, that once more information comes out in the open that they seem to know about but haven't told anybody, things are going to be much worse. You can see her say that. I paraphrased it, but look, when it's on Channel 15, when it's repeated, the Selectmen Finance Board budget hearing, last 2.5 hours, you'll hear her say that, or something very similar to it. That's not right. Let's do it right this time. Let's do it right this time. Let's do it right this time. Let's face the facts up front, as we should. You saw my program on the triangles. I'll be repeating that from time to time. But watch it. And I showed you what happens if you do it right. And that means you've got to force all problems out into the open, get them on the table. No politics, financial management, business management, town management, state management, federal management, although that's pretty goofed up too at both levels. Let's do it right this time. Let's face the facts up front right now. Don't approve the budget. Tell them you want them to face the facts and get all this stuff on the table and come up with a responsible budget, as we should, as we are entitled to, as owners of the town. If not, let's fire them. Let's get new people in, if anybody runs for office. In the next election in November, and people are already posturing for that. There's a lot of politics in this whole thing that shouldn't be involved at all. This is business management, town management, facts. No politics. No hidden agendas should be allowed. And the people that are in power now do have hidden agendas. They want to fool you. They don't want to accept input, not even from their own fiscal conservatives in their own parties. It's a very sad situation. So in light of the reduced revenue, decreasing property values, perhaps reduced money from the state, we don't even know. That usually happens after we pass our own budget. We find out we're going to get more or less from the state. Jay Case might know the answer to that. He's our representative in this district, 63rd district. But I don't know. But that could come up. This is what I call upwards pressure on the budget. All these are upward pressure. Things will go wrong before they go right unless it's very, very carefully managed in intensive care. Just like you would do in a hospital or a nursing home. Perhaps reduce the money from the state. We might get less money from the state, as I said. And then we have the huge debt obligations. And the money moving around, 4.7 million, concerns. We don't know what's going to pop up out of that. We've put money into the budget for insurance collection in case something went radically wrong and we're owed some insurance money for mistakes made by management in town. I wouldn't bet on that. I wouldn't have put it in the budget, no matter what the lawyer said. He's got some information I don't have. But until I have that information, I won't vote for the budget. It's all right to say we know, but we can't tell you. I say, okay, let's not vote for the budget until you can tell us. So let's do it right this time. Let's face the facts up front as we should, and let's budget wisely. Let's budget wisely. Get the people in town involved, the fiscal conservative Democrats, the fiscal conservative Republicans, the fiscal conservative unaffiliated, and the fiscal conservative from the Independent Party, and let's put together a budget for success. Planning for success. That's the name of this program, surprise, surprise. As we should. As we should. You can't say as we should not. That doesn't make any sense. As we should. There's only one way out of here, the front door. There's no side doors, there's no back door. We, as a town, Board of Education, Board of Finance, Selectmen, everybody, we have to do as we should and go out through the front door. Get the state involved if we have to. Do whatever we have to do for a change. Let's do it for a change. It'd be nice. Wouldn't that be harmonious? Then we might get the cooperation of the taxpayers from year to year. We might get some growth in revenue, and we might become, for many years, a balanced, successful town again. Thank you very much. See you next week.